Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Like Who's podcast. I'm Tori. I hope you guys are having a great week. This episode is going to cover from May 22nd to May 29th, week 2, and then the third week's episode is still going to be coming out this weekend as well. I'm going to be very honest about what happened to the episode. See, I got a speeding ticket the other day, and that's just not me. I was just so ashamed. I sat in the dark. I'm not even gonna lie, I cried, because that's not me. That was like a death to a part of my ego that is a perfectionist, because it's like, dang, I went from never having been pulled over to a speeding ticket. You know what I'm saying? Like, God really humbled me. He humbled me down. And, then I had to tell my dad that I got it. And I'm just like ashamed. So you guys should definitely help me get to like 700 subscribers so we can make our way towards being able to monetize on YouTube. That's what I think. That's just me personally. But you should also follow me on whatever. Listen to this one to say today on new episodes. Is there anything else? Also comment, share your opinions. I want to know your thoughts. I responded to comments last week. You guys would be proud of me. But yeah, that happened. And then that happened on like a Saturday. No, it happened like Friday. And I was really sad, like I said. And then I was like, I have to do this podcast. And I hadn't really watched a lot of games. And I'm going to be very transparent. I was getting off of work at like 7:30 p.m. and then I was trying to come home. And by the time I'm home, I can't even watch games because by that point, the second batch of games has started already. And then it's also like I have to commute like an hour or like sometimes an hour and a half or like an hour, 40 minutes from my job. And I'm like, sometimes I just don't feel like it. And then that's really just what it came down to. And I want this to be fun and like something that I enjoy and obviously something that you guys enjoy. So I really want it to be put out on time, but also, life just gets in the way. So that is my apology for that. I am going to try to be better though. So this week's episode is coming out. I have to watch the game, so it'll probably be up on like Saturday night or Sunday night, but it's definitely going to be up on the weekend and then all of the other things. So, I would sit here and sell myself and tell you to go follow all the social media, but that's just a lot of work. If you want to, feel free. You guys know I just be yapping wherever I'm at. Here, Twitter, TikTok, wherever anybody will have me. I'll yap. Anyways, but yeah, let's just get into the basketball. I do have a new thing I want to start this week though. It's called Tori's Player to Watch of the Week. And the selection this week is Monique Akoa Makani from the Phoenix Mercury. She's been looking really great. You guys know I hate watch that team. But she's definitely a bright spot on it. She's a rookie. I feel like people aren't really talking about her right now. She's been playing really, really well. Like, she plays great defense. She's a good shooter. I think she makes some great offensive decisions. And she plays a lot of minutes, honestly. So I think she definitely deserves, some shine. And if nobody else will give it to her, I'll give it to her. So y'all give it up for Monique Akoa Makani. I'm going to add in claps. Yeah. Woo. Okay. Anyways, let's get into the basketball because I'm not even gonna lie. It's 3 a.m. I have to go to work. But you know what? I'm so dedicated to the podcast that I'm here right now. It's going to be a chill vibe. I have things to say. I didn't watch 3 of these games though. And by 3, I really just mean 2. And then I didn't pay attention to 2 more of them. But you won't know which ones. Actually, I'm going to tell you which ones. Anyways. On Friday, we had 4 games. May 22nd, Lynx versus Sun. The Lynx beat the Sun 76-70. I'll be honest, I didn't think this was going to be a tight game the way that it was. The Sun I think the Sun are just very good at starting games off the right way. For the Sun, it's more so about being able to put together 4 strong quarters of basketball, whereas for the Lynx, I think they just have the ability and they have the talent to kind of just turn games around really whenever they feel like it, I think. And I think you see that and have seen that throughout the first few games with them. I think they're starting to get off to a better start in games more recently, but during this week and the week before then, the Lynx were definitely getting off to slow starts. But just about anything that could go wrong for this team definitely did. Like, the shooting was absolutely atrocious the first quarter. And honestly, if I'm being for real, I was pushing a theory that they were only playing that bad because Kayla McBride was sitting on the bench and they were trying to get her to come back sooner. That's just me, though. That's just me because, I have to push certain narratives at a time like this. But, if Nafisa Collier wasn't on this team, I don't know if they're able to pull this one out. The Sun beat them on the boards. They were beating them almost the whole game. I think the Sun just really need a closer. And what I do like about the Sun is that they're going to have a lot of time to gel because of this rebuild, even though like they may not be like that great right now compared to other teams in the league. I think what I like about this team is that they have so many like rookies and young people on the roster that this team is kind of going to be like untouched when it comes to like next year when a lot of players are like almost every player is a free agent. So I'm excited to see how this team kind of rounds out. And I think they just play like really well at the beginning. It really is just about if they can put 4 quarters of solid basketball together. And they actually got their first win this week. I haven't seen the game yet, but happy for them. I think they have some good veteran leadership. And I think the announcers actually ended up interviewing, like, I think not the owner of the Sun, but maybe like the president of basketball or something. I don't really know. But somebody from the front office they interviewed and they kind of talked about how excited they are, about this team and to see, the younger rookies grow and learn from the vets that they have on the team. And she honestly got me excited about the team because even though the Sun like lose, I don't think that they're not like losing and like, oh my gosh, they get blown out every time. Now, did they get blown out by the Liberty? We're going to talk about that next episode. Yes. But at the same time, when you think about it, like, and you compare those rosters, they have like 3 superstars on their team and they have really great role players who know their role and are great shooters and play hard defense. So it's kind of like what do you expect to happen there? And I think that that's kind of the same way like with the Wings or kind of with any team that people are kind of like, a little bit critical of. It's kind of like I don't really know what we're expecting per se. Like, I don't know. People are doing a lot right now. But anyways, Marina Mabry gave you 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, was 7 of 19 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3. Tina Charles had a rough game. She gave you 4 points and 5 rebounds and was 2 of 6 from the field. Olivia Nelson-Adota gave you 10 points, 10 rebounds, was 5 of 7 from the field. And Tanaya Rivers gave you 11 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, was 5 of 11 from the field and 1 of 5 from 3. And Haley Peters gave you 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and was 5 of 8 from the field. Also, you guys know I love me some JC Sheldon. I'm just so excited that she's on a team where she's getting minutes and like even when she's not like necessarily like scoring, she's still like, playing and being put on the court. And what I love the most was that the front office lady was like, yeah, we love JC, we're trying to work on like, obviously like taking care of the ball and everything, but JC's a great young piece and so are like the rookies that we drafted and these vets and pairing them together, we're hoping to build something new and fresh. And it's just so interesting that this Sun team is so different from last year as well, just because last year around this time, everybody was talking about how they were going undefeated and who was going to be the first team to beat them. And now, they just got their first win under their belt. And now it's like, oh, are they going to be able to maybe put something together? And maybe as the season goes on, as people figure out what their role is on the team and as the coach kind of figures out what he wants, from his players and what kind of system he wants to play in and run. And the players know like what he's expecting of them. Maybe like in the middle of the season, kind of, start winning a lot more games and maybe be in like a little playoff push. Now I'm getting a little overwhelmed, but I think that would be exciting. For the Lynx, Courtney Williams had a rough game, but I think the thing that's great about the Lynx is that there are a lot of other players, or there are some other options that can kind of come in and give some relief to her. And I think Natisha Heidemann was definitely re-signed for that reason. I think Natisha has definitely come up big in some games in the past week. So I'm excited to watch those. But even before then, like, she's just a very clutch player for this team so far this season. And I'm excited to see what else she does. Like, I feel like since Unrivaled and even in Unrivaled, she played really well. And I'm just excited to see how that translates here. And then when Courtney is having those off games, seeing her come in and be able to play more, see Diamond Miller be able to come in and play a few more minutes. I'm just very excited about this Lynx team. I know people think they're boring and everything, and that's fine, but I love them. Anyways, Bridget Carlton, I felt like she did really well playing defense. I'm obviously a fan, but this was not her best game offensively. I think like last year for like the Commissioner's Cup was probably one of her best games. And, I would kind of like to see her more like less hesitant to shoot the ball. But it's also like at the same time, I think her defense definitely makes up a lot of times for, what she's not always able to give you offensively. And I don't even really know if it's like poor shooting all of the time, because I don't think that that's it. It's also just like this is a system that definitely runs through a player. So it's usually like Nafisa Collier is getting you the ball, or they're just passing the ball around and whoever ends up open shoots it. And usually it's a Kayla McBride, or maybe Courtney Williams will try to drive to the basket, or Natisha Heidemann will drive to the basket, or shoot a mid-range or whatever. So I think it just comes down to like whoever the ball finds. But I would really like to see her be a little bit more aggressive on offense. I probably won't get what I want, but that's fine. That's just what I wanted to see. For the stats, Nafisa Collier gave you 33 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and was 11 of 21 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3. Jessica Shepard gave you 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 5 of 8 from the field. Natisha Heidemann gave you 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 4 of 6 from the field. And Alana Smith gave you 4 steals and 2 blocks. I love that. Alana Smith plays some great defense. I'm always taking her at the 5, okay? Next up, we have Mercury versus Storm. The Storm beat the Mercury 77-70. Admittedly, I wasn't feeling this game at first, but I think the announcers really got me more excited. I am a really big fan of the Seattle Storm announcers. I said this last season, and, obviously it still rings true this season. They're just extremely biased, and I love that because you can just tell that they just really love their home team, and that just really gets me excited for the games. Like, I like the Storm, but sometimes I really like basketball in general, but sometimes I just don't feel like watching the games sometimes, or sometimes I'm just not excited about a matchup. And I don't really like the Mercury like that. So I kind of be hate watching. So I was kind of disinterested from the jump. But those announcers are definitely some of the best in the league. They should always have work. They should never go unemployed. Write that down in your notes. Anyways, the Storm really came to play after, the rough start that they had against them the week before. I liked Ezzy being a bit more aggressive on the offensive end. Last year, I think she put up some good numbers on offense, and also, she was definitely in defensive player of the year conversations last year. And so far this season, I haven't really seen, her have one of those crazy games, but I really did enjoy this performance from her. Skylar's ability to score through contact really makes this team what it is as well. And even when Skylar, isn't playing her best, you have some really great options coming off the bench, which I think is a really great improvement from last year. Not to say that last year's team wasn't good, but it was definitely like starters can't really rest like as much as they can now, because now you kind of have more reliable shooters. You kind of have more people who can kind of, run the offense. So I'm very excited about this team. I like them. They're very scrappy. They play great defense. And Skylar, NECA, Gabby, Ezzy are definitely like 4 really great players that I'm excited to watch this year. Erica Wheeler has great energy off and on the bench. It's crazy that she wasn't seeing many minutes last year with the fever, because she's just been like very electric for this team and hasn't had a bad game that I've seen so far. Satu, also from the Mercury, was in foul trouble this game. I think that played a role a bit in them losing this game. For the Mercury, they had a 6-minute scoring drought. I feel like they had a lot of offensive rebounds, but just couldn't get it done. I think to me, like the Mercury in general this season get a lot of rebounds, but sometimes it is about whether or not whoever you're passing the ball back to is going to, make the shot. Outside of that, though, I think when that's not a struggle for the Mercury, they typically win games and do well. But I think with the Storm, that's just like a big team. I don't really know if the Mercury match up well with them size-wise. But they were able to tie the game back up despite that 6-minute scoring drought. They turned the ball over a lot in the fourth quarter. Satu wasn't as aggressive towards the end. Like once you sit on the bench, you're kind of out of rhythm for the game. But she deferred a few shots and couldn't really get anything going. And I was kind of surprised to see her kind of hesitate to shoot some shots towards the end or to just, pass the ball to somebody else. It was very interesting because I feel like Satu is definitely like, without Kalia Copper on the team right now, Satu is definitely like the driving force of the offense. So it's kind of like, I don't think she should be deferring shots, but I can understand wanting to get the ball moving. So I won't do too much on that. But Alyssa Thomas gave you 16 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 19 from the field. Satu gave you 15 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 5 of 12 from the field. Pretty efficient, and was 2 of 8 from 3. Monique Akoa Makani gave you 14 points, 2 rebounds. Amazing game for her. She's giving a lot on defense and gave you back-to-back threes as well. For the Storm, Skylar Diggins gave you 24 points, 14 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 8 of 16 from the field. Nneka Agumake gave you 24 points, 8 rebounds, was 11 of 15 from the field. She's an amazing player. Like, actually, just watching her play, some of the shots, like, that go in, sometimes I'm like, there's no way that's going in, and it does. Like, she's just one of those players who is just good on all levels if she's having like a great game, or like, if the defense isn't really pressuring her, she does really well. The only time a team has really pressured her, I think, so far this season has been when they played the Mercury the first time. But even then, I felt like she definitely played well. It was kind of like everybody else. She kind of needed some help from them. But with the Lynx, she really struggled, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this episode. But yeah, outside of that, if there's not a good matchup for Nneka, like, she's definitely cooking you. Anyways, Gabby Williams gave you 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals, and she was 4 of 9 from the field. Ezzy gave you 6 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 3 of 6 from the field. Next up, we have Mystics versus Aces. The Aces beat the Mystics 75-72. First thing I'll say is this. The Aces have a lot of work to do right now. To me, they're not giving me championship contenders. And it's not because, like, it's not for lack of talent, but it's definitely because, and obviously it's really early in the season. And I think obviously put that asterisk by everything that I say for at least like another week or two. It's very early on, but it is like, okay, like if you're going, like, there are some teams that I think are setting the tone early for what they want to do. And I don't know if I love the tone that the Aces are setting right now. And right now, to me, okay, this is just my opinion. Even when it first happened, the trade with Kelsey Plum and Jewel Lloyd, I was kind of like, I feel like the Sparks won that trade. And honestly, I don't know if Kelsey would be playing to the level that she's playing with the Sparks here on the Aces, because there is so much talent there. And I think that, you have to be able to, make room for each other and everything. And so that's a lot. But outside of that, I definitely think that Kelsey is playing better than Jewel right now. And even like, this might have been, actually no, the game that they had versus the Storm, I thought Jewel was lighting them up. And then I read the stats and I was like, Jewel actually didn't light them up, actually. The Aces defense looks questionable at best at times. The offense, there's no real flow to it sometimes. Like, sometimes people are just dribbling the ball. over dribbling. And this is no shade on the Mystics because the Mystics are really good, which is why I'm kind of like the Aces have to buckle down. Like if they want a championship again, if they want to win again, I don't know if that's the aspiration for the season. That's what I assume. But I'm not very impressed with what I've seen from the Aces so far, just because it's like there are teams like the Liberty and like the Lynx and like the Storm who are like setting a precedent for how they want their season to go and what they want to do. And even the Dream, for that matter, they have players who are like, I'm not missing the playoffs again this year, even though they didn't miss the playoffs last year. But they want to go deeper. And, the Dream have made moves in order to get those players to those positions. And then, even with the Fever, the front office made some moves and right now they're going through a thing, but because Caitlin's hurt, but that's besides the point. They have a couple players hurt actually, but the Aces, it's kind of like y'all kind of got to get the ball rolling on that. Like y'all are going to have to start clicking because girl, people are only going to get better from here. It's not like yeah, the Aces have time to get better, but like every team they play has time to get better as well. So it's like, yeah, we need to work on some things. But anyways, for the Mystics, there was no Brittany Sykes this game, which I feel like was a very big, again, that's another red flag to me because their leading scorer wasn't even on the floor that game. Anyways, but they did a lot of things right this game. I don't know if I love Sika Kone being on Jewel in the final possession. On that final shot, Jewel did hit the dagger on them. But the Mystics definitely have to, work on taking care of the ball. I think they had 15 turnover to the Aces 8. Interestingly enough, they shot better than the Aces from the field, 40% to their 34%. And I think this says 50% to 24% on threes, which is actually crazy. But they just missed 3 free throws that could have tied the game for them in the end. But I feel that is like a really small like margin of error, especially like for a young team and especially for a young team without their leading scorer, for them to have even like been close to winning the game in the final minutes is crazy. But Sonia Citron obviously has been playing really well. Kiki Ariafin has also been playing well. Sonia gave you 19 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 6 of 11 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. Kiki Ariafin gave you 17 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 6 of 14 from the field. Jade Melvin gave you 14 points, 3 rebounds, was 4 of 11 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Sug Sutton gave you 10 points, 2 rebounds, and was 3 of 9 from the field. Steph Dolson gave you 8 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, and was 2 of 3 from 3. Honestly, everybody pitched in really well. I think for the Aces, it's kind of just still the main 3 players giving you that offense. And so, again, that's another thing that kind of concerns me. Like, who else can we turn to? Like, if those 3 are having a rough game, like they end up having versus the Storm later on this week, who's our go-to person? What are the options there? And I think that's like really, again, like another question. And then I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there. We'll figure it out though. For the Aces, Jewel Lloyd hit the game winner. I think at the end of the game, they had some really great defensive stops. I think if they're able to string those together and, stretch that out for an entire game, I definitely think they'll be in better shape. Jackie Young gave you 25 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, and was 7 of 15 from the field. Chelsea Gray gave you 17 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 7 of 17 from the field. Asia Wilson gave you 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, and was 5 of 13 from the field. Jewel Lloyd gave you 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Good game from, most of the star players. I think it's really just going to be about whether or not they can continue to be consistent there and whether or not they can clean up their defense, and also who they can turn to on the bench to give them some scoring, because, there are obviously going to be days when the stars struggle a bit. And I think it's going to be important to be able to just call somebody up off the bench and then be able to give you at least like 12 points, 12, 15, something to keep you in there. And I think right now, that's an area where they lack. I think, the Aces bench depth is definitely something that they should work on. next season when everybody's free agents. That should definitely be, something that everyone is thinking about in the front office. Next up, we have Valkyries versus Sparks. The Valkyries beat the Sparks 82-73. I felt like the Sparks really got out to a great start. They were on a 20-9 run, but then the Valkyrie came back. I don't know if the Valkyries defense is just like really good or if the Sparks offense is missing something. Obviously, the Sparks aren't healthy, but they just kind of don't look right to me, and I can't really like put my finger on what it is, but there's kind of just something off about the Sparks. I know that a lot of people on social media have been saying that, there's a lot of hero ball being played at some points in the game, and it's just there's a lot to unpack there. There are a lot of thoughts that people have right now. I don't really know if I'm buying into hero ball as of yet. If anything, like I've seen the need for hero ball, but I don't know. There's just the Sparks just they look what's the word? They look discombobulated a bit, honestly. And again, like I said, they're not healthy yet, but it's also like at the same time, I don't know that rookies coming in or younger players like a Ray Burrell, like a Cameron Brink, if those players coming in, because Ray Burrell is great. I think she's a good player. I like her. And at the same time, I don't know if what she can give you scoring wise is something that is the only thing that the Sparks need in order to win games. And Cameron Brink, before she got hurt, she was getting in a lot of foul trouble. And because of that foul trouble, wasn't really able to help on offense. And so it's kind of like to come back and essentially still have a player who she's watched a lot from the bench, and obviously she's a talented player and she's been around the game. But at the same time, it's like to expect her to come in and be able to, fill the holes that the Sparks have offensively and defensively when fouling is kind of a struggle right now, and where sometimes Ray does struggle offensively. I don't know. I thought the Sparks were going to look a little bit better than they do. Obviously, there's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. But as of right now, the Sparks definitely have some work to do. And that's all I can say there. For the Valkyrie, they held the Sparks to 9 points in the second quarter. Their game plan was just to stop Kelsey, and they did that and were able to win the game. They also did a great job scoring off of turnovers. They scored off of turnovers 22 points to the Sparks 13. Carla Late had a great game. She gave you 19 points, 3 assists, and was 7 of 10 from the field. Janelle Salon gave you 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 block, and was 5 of 11 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. She's an amazing player. She's just honestly like a walking bucket. Like sometimes she just walks right into shots, and it's amazing. The ball movement is really great for the Valkyries. Kayla Thornton gave you 14 points, 10 rebounds, 4 steals, and we won't really get into the efficiency because she delivered and they won the game, so I'm not even going to do too much. Veronica Burton gave you 12 points, 3 assists, 5 steals, and Timmy Fagbinley gave you 8 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 4 of 6 from the field. Great game from the Valkyries. For the Sparks, they went 9 of 26 from 3. You can't really let something like that happen against the Valkyries just because they put up a lot of threes. And, you got to be able to compete with that somehow. And 9 of 26, some work to be done. In the second quarter, they went 0 of 11. Wow, really? 0 of 11? First points of the quarter? Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I don't even believe what I wrote, and that's the truth. The commentator said that. In the second quarter, the Sparks went 0 of 11. First points of the quarter were from De'Erica with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the quarter. They were able to get it within 6 points with 3 minutes left in the quarter. But, unfortunately, they weren't able to pull that one out. Yerka Hamby gave you 25 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, and was 9 of 16 from the field. Kelsey Plum gave you 16 points, 3 assists, 4 steals, and was 6 of 18 from the field. Odyssey Sims gave you 13 points, was 4 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Azurá Stevens gave you 6 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. Sarah Ashley Barker gave you 7 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and was 1 of 7 from the field. And shout out to Julie Alamon. She brought a lot of defensive intensity to the game and was honestly a really big reason that they were able to cut the lead to 6 points. I don't know. I think she really helped the game kind of tip back into their favor while she was on the floor. And I really think she plays really great defense, and so does Sarah Ashley Barker. And the two of them kind of are to the Sparks what Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham are for the Fever. I think if they can kind of start scoring a bit more, I think that they could definitely be comparable to those two. But to me, that's definitely where the Sparks, that's a very good jumping off point for their defense, because both of them played very good defense throughout the week. But it really is just kind of going to be about the offense. And again, I'm interested to see, what lineup gets thrown out there when Cameron's healthy. Are we going to play Rakia more? What does Ray Burrell look like there? Just seeing what those kind of combinations look like. And, hopefully we can kind of see a little bit more ball movement and things like that. On Saturday, we had 2 games. Liberty versus Fever. The Liberty beat the Fever 90-88. I felt like the refs called a lot of fouls this game, and I always hate that because it just causes a lot of stoppage time, and I don't want to watch people shooting I don't want to watch a team shoot 30 free throws. That's just not fun for me. But I do think that, both teams kind of have to work on defending without fouling. More so the Fever, really. But the Liberty had Caitlin in jail offensively until she hit her first 3, I think at the end of the third quarter. There was a lot of complaining about officiating this game on social media, which again, I kind of hate because I felt like they called too many fouls. And then also I hate when players just complain about fouls as well, because a couple players did complain and then it was easy points for the other team because you're not getting back on defense. If there's one thing I'm gonna give that Mystics team, those young players, they don't complain. Sonia and Kiki, they don't complain. They get that foul and they make their way right on back to the court, to the other end of the court. I respect that. I really do. And as viewers, we can tell. Anyways, but on the final possession, because I know that was a point of contention, there was a lot of conversation about whether or not it was a foul. Honestly, Natasha Cloud is a really great defender, and that block was, or steal, it was all ball. She defended her well all game, so honestly, it wasn't shocking that she was able to strip her at the end of the game. But yeah, I thought the conversation around it was silly. I thought people kind of doxing, or not necessarily doxing, but looking on the internet for the referee's name and where he works. I thought we have to be more mature. Yeah, we have to be more mature. That's not a message to everybody. That's that message to very specific people. We have to be more mature. Just because you don't get the call, your favorite player doesn't get the call, you can't be doing that. That's very childish. Lock in. Be mature. Lock in. Just be better. Anyways, the Fever, this was the first time that, the Liberty have really had another team put up a fight. The Liberty at that point hadn't played a ton of games, but I think this week we're kind of seeing some weak spots for the Liberty, because later on this week, the Valkyrie almost had their neck. They didn't have their neck completely because they lost the game, but they almost had that neck. Anyways, the Liberty kind of started slipping at the end of the third quarter. I think their best lineup this game was Sabrina, Natasha, Stewie, Jonquel, and either Kennedy Burke or Maureen Johannes. Natasha Cloud played really, really, really well this game. This is probably one of the best games that I've seen from her in a very long time. with Phoenix, she would have good games, but it was like because they lost, like you could barely like it's hard to be excited for a player when the team lost. But she had a really great game. I still can't believe that, they got her this offseason. I really think that this is just a piece that this team absolutely did not need. She's playing with a lot of joy. They look even better than they did last year with her. John Quell gave you 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, was 9 of 15 from the field. Sabrina gave you 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 8 of 20 from the field. Not her best efficiency, but she went to the free throw line a few times, I believe. Natasha Cloud gave you 16 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals, 2 blocks, and was 6 of 9 from the field. I really just feel like this team is at its best when she's on the floor running the offense. I think obviously Sabrina's capable of running offense. I think Marine's capable of running offense, but when you need to just like go out there, get some scoring going, get the offense like at a point where it's kind of free flowing, Natasha Cloud is definitely like the person to have on the floor at that time. And I also just like, not to say that I think Natasha Cloud is a better point guard than Courtney Vandersloot. I definitely think that she kind of fits this system a little bit more and a little bit better, just because I feel like last year or last season, Courtney didn't really play like as many minutes as I thought she was going to. And I felt like Sabrina kind of ran the offense a little bit more. So I'm kind of happy that Sabrina can kind of just focus more on her offense than, needing to run the offense 100% of the time. And I also think that when they started slipping a bit at the end of the third quarter, it was kind of because Natasha wasn't, running the offense. So I think that'll be an interesting thing to look at as the season goes on. Brianna Stewart gave you 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 4 of 11 from the field. Nobody was really super efficient from this game, but obviously they play really great defense. So even in moments of like slippage with offense, it's fine because your defense can kind of make up for that, especially when you're going against a team like the Fever, where you can kind of, pinpoint some things in their offense where there are weaknesses. For the Fever, Natasha Howard was in foul trouble early in the first quarter. Caitlin was also in foul trouble by the end of the first quarter as well. Lexi turned the ball over in the backcourt in the first half, I think, at the end of the first half. Dewana Bonner had a good defensive game. She got some steals. Aaliyah Boston had a really great game as well. I think Aaliyah Boston has definitely taken that leap that I kind of discussed a little bit last season and over, the off season with Unrivaled. She didn't look that great in Unrivaled, but you are definitely like seeing her take that leap and how that's affecting the Fever. And it's been really fun to watch, honestly, because I feel like last year there were like moments when Aaliyah wouldn't take a shot or she would hesitate to. And now we're definitely seeing like a more elevated version of her game. And I'm hoping and hopeful that, it just gets better from here. But Aaliyah Boston gave you 27 points, 13 rebounds, was 12 of 19 from the field, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Caitlin gave you 18 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, was 6 of 18 from the field, 2 of 11 from 3. Kelsey Mitchell gave you 15 points, 4 assists, 3 steals, and was 6 of 16 from the field. Lexi Hull gave you 15 points, 2 rebounds, and was 6 of 9 from the field. Natasha Howard gave you 6 points, 8 rebounds, and Dewana Bonner gave you 7 rebounds and 2 steals. For Wings versus Dream, the Dream beat the Wings 83-75. People were kind of did a lot for this game, for this matchup. I remember Twitter was in shambles. They were like, Paige put up a stinker, this was Paige's worst performance, all these things. And I just felt like people kind of did a little too much. They kind of did a little too much. I went back and I watched the game. She took some good shots. They just didn't fall. To me, it looked like there were some other problems, though. Starters were afraid to shoot the ball. Anybody who wasn't Paige or Nalissa and was a starter combined for 12 points. That's definitely a problem. I think the bigs need to start setting better screens. The Wings took 82 shots, which was 14 more than the Dream, and they still lost the game. Tiara and Maisha not starting against BG and Bree Jones made no sense to me. If anything, that was like a very like obvious thing, like a very obvious decision to make to me in my mind. There was some poor shot selection when they had closed the gap in the fourth quarter. Like I think they definitely could have won this game towards the end, but you know, again, I'm still shocked that they shot 82 shots. The Dream actually the Dream put up a lot of shots. They put up a lot of shots in games, but 82, I don't even know if I've seen numbers like that since I started doing this podcast. I don't think I've seen numbers like that. That's honestly frightening. They sent them to the free throw line 21 times. They just have to work on defending without fouling. That's all I can say about the Wings. Nalissa Smith gave you 13 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. Maddie Segrist gave you 12 points, 9 rebounds. Arike took 10 shots. She was sharing the ball. I respect her for not taking a ton of shots. I think it was like a game the week before where people were really lighting her up for not shooting, or actually for shooting too much. So, I respect her kind of seeing, hey, maybe my shot not going, I'll just pass the ball. I respect that. I do think that maybe she overcorrected a bit, because we do need you to take more than 10 shots. We do need that. I don't know. I feel like it's a tough balance. I feel like people are very hard on Arike. At the same time, sometimes I'm hard on her. So there has to be a balance in there somehow. I think maybe we not hunt for shots. I think it's just gonna come down to a consistency thing. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. But I do think that as a shooter, to some level, the consistency is like a part of that. And I think that that's gonna come with time. This is still very early on in her career, and there's definitely still a lot of time to, clean some things up. She can go to a new team or a new system, or maybe, this team looks very different next year, and, maybe there are some new pieces here. Who knows? But yeah, there's still time. There's still time to turn things around, I think. Tierra McCowan gave you 10 points, 6 rebounds, and Paige gave you 11 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 of 15 from the field. I think it's hard to be like super mad about this loss because nobody was shooting well. And I mean, at that point, it's kind of hard to do anything if you're not shooting well, if your shot's not falling. I kind of wish that the coach would try other things if shots aren't falling, though. Like, 2 post players were having decent games in Tierra and in Nalissa. So then it's kind of like, why aren't you playing through them? Or at least, using them to pretend that you're playing through them, and then pass the ball out, to maybe a Maddie Segrist or somebody who's having a good shooting night. I don't know. Very confusing decision making happening from the coach right now. Again, it's very early on in the season. I'm trying not to be on any coach's head right now, but it's definitely a point of conversation within the WNBA community right now. I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself, so I'm going to leave my thoughts on him alone for a little bit longer, and I'm going to see what he does over the next 2-3 weeks, and then he could very well, too, be getting a Zoom call. Next up, we have the Dream. I feel like they played well. They played good, aggressive defense. Alicia Gray gave you 27 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, was 8 of 15 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Alicia Gray is having an amazing season. If you're not watching her play, definitely at least turn the TV on for one game. She looks really great right now. Brittany Griner gave you 15 points, 8 rebounds, and was 7 of 14 from the field. Bree Jones gave you 11 points, 15 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block, and was 5 of 9 from the field. For Ryan, she didn't have a great night shooting from the field, but she was running the offense, so I'm hoping to see her kind of turn that around, her efficiency around as the team gets healthy, which has definitely happened this week. So I'm excited to see, her play games this week. And then as the season continues to go on, hopefully, we see a little bit more efficient performances from her. But outside of that, the Dream looked good. They're working hard. They're playing well. And when everybody's playing well, this team wins. So, I'm excited for them. Congrats to the Dream. On Sunday, we had 4 games. The first, Sun versus Dream. The Dream beat the Sun 79-55. I remember I was on live watching this game, and people were talking about like sports betting or whatever. And so they were doing that. I don't do that. I don't condone. I don't condone, but like I don't do it. I don't think that sports, but I would never bet my own money on somebody else's performance. That's just me though. I will say I definitely help a WNBA creator that goes live. Sometimes I help her with the picks. People in the chat when we go on TikTok live help her with the picks. I think that I can I think that obviously if there's anything that I've learned from watching these games extremely heavily and doing this podcast is that, you can expect somebody to their performance for the past 3 games could tell you that, oh, they're getting a double-double tonight. And then it'll be the day you bet they have an off shooting night and aren't rebounding. Maybe, they got benched. They weren't playing too good, So it's one of those things where it's like, I can't put, like, unless, like, I just started getting every single over under right and, like, writing it down on a piece of paper for, like, over a month, then I might bet. But that's not me, I can't say that that's something that I get behind personally. Anyways, I got sidetracked. Next up, we have Dream versus Sun. The Dream beat the Sun 79-55. No Brittany Griner. I know a lot of people thought that they were going to lose this game because it was a back-to-back because the Dream had just played the night before. But to me, the writing was on the wall. You have to know your opponent, and the Sun have really been struggling. So to me, I felt like it was an easy win. The Sun were held to 7 points in the fourth quarter. I think this team just relies heavily on its vets, and Tina and Marina both struggled this game. And if they aren't playing well, the team is definitely cooked. So I'm interested to see, like, which of the younger players kind of steps up in those moments when Tina and Marina struggle, or if just one of them is struggling. I'm interested to see who kind of steps up and, takes on that role of, getting some points up, scoring hard. But at the same time, I can understand because they are young and, you're just like figuring things out and you're figuring out how to be successful on this level. So it's completely understandable. I think their coach makes some really good adjustments. He's a very good decision maker. Again, I think the Sun typically start the games off very well. It's just about putting together 4 quarters of great basketball. They took care of the ball, though. They had 9 turnovers to the Dream's 14. Marina Mabrey gave you 12 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Wasn't super efficient from the field, but, I'll take it. Tina Charles had 11 points, 7 rebounds, and was 5 of 20 from the field. Olivia Nelson-Adota gave you 11 points, 5 rebounds, and was 4 of 7 from the field. And to me, honestly, was probably one of the best players of the game, just based off of efficiency. But nobody else on the team really scored more than 7 points. So, again, I think that's just going to be like, what shots are falling, which player feels comfortable at the time to, kind of step up and help with the offense. And, yeah, I think that's going to come with time. And, again, I'm excited to watch the Sun as they continue to figure those things out. For the Dream, Nia Coffey had a great game. She had some timely buckets, played some good defense. The Dream beat them on the boards 52-34. The Dream beat them on the boards 52-34. Nia Coffey gave you 18 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, was 6 of 13 from the field. Alicia Gray gave you 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 6 of 11 from the field. Maya Caldwell gave you 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, and got to start with an injured roster. Ryan Howard gave you 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Shout out to the Dream. You guys are really stepping up. I might have to start rooting for you soon. Next up, we have Aces versus Storm. The Storm beat the Aces 102-82. First of all, I consider this a rivalry now because of the trade. I consider this a rivalry. Seattle was on a redemption tour after, they lost that first game pretty bad to the Mercury. And to me personally, I think that's why they kicked their ass. If we're being really real, that's what happened that night. Against contenders, the Aces just look pretty bad right now. Right now. Again, there's time. It's only week 2 at this point. It's week 3 in a general sense, but this episode is just week 2. So again, I'm not going to do too much, but they look pretty bad against contenders. I'm interested to see what they look like against the Lynx though. That'll be telling. Anywho, for the Aces, Joel had a great game, ironically, and it felt like a great game until I saw the stats. And really, 14 points isn't not good, but 4 of 15 from the field. In the context of the game, while I was watching the game, I thought she was lighting them up, but she wasn't though. So that's interesting. Anyways, there were a lot of poor screens set this game from the Aces. I'm talking there were some sorry ass screens being set, okay? Not even to do too much. There were just a lot of poor screens being set this game, and I'm talking some really sorry screens. Screens that didn't create space for the ball handler at all. Some terrible screens I saw that game. People weren't rotating. They weren't getting out on the perimeter to defend shooters. The Aces look bad against good defense is what we learned from this game. Dana Evans is not moving me right now. Dana wasn't playing no defense for real. She was missing bunnies, poor shot selection, lackadaisical passes, and you can really say that about everybody on the team for real. There was a lot of dribbling, not a lot of offense being run. At least that's what it looked like to me. Liz Kitley, I'm going to give her one thing. She came off that bench and she was shooting that ball. She was shooting that ball and making the shots. Liz Kitley, you're doing things. You're going to be doing big things in this league. Know that. Next to Asia, you'll be doing some big things, sister. They have some work to do. I haven't seen any of their games this week yet. I know they beat the Sparks over the weekend, and I don't know what else they've done, but I'm hoping they're able to put it together by the time I watch these week 3 games. Asia Wilson gave you 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and was 5-11 from the field. Joel Lloyd gave you 14 points, 3 assists, was 4 of 15 from the field. Jackie Young gave you 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Liz Kitley gave you 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 5 of 8 from the field. Shout out to Liz Kitley. For the Storm, I think they just did a really great job of smothering Jackie, and she struggled to keep the ball in her hands, but also, kind of struggled offensively. I think we're kind of used to usually seeing her give you 18, 20, 25 points. So the fact that she was held to 14, I think was really great. And also even for Asia being held to 15 points, the Storm defense did a really great job there. They just gave lockdown defense all night long. The Storm were actually just playing ping pong in their faces at some points, just passing the ball back and forth. Same 2 players, just passing the ball back and forth. And I was so nobody wants to get their hand in there. Nobody wants to stop them. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of embarrassing. I personally would have been begging the coach to sit me down. That's just me though. Great ball movement from the Storm. They have some reliable shooters this year. Erica Wheeler went on a heater. It was like she had just walked into a buffet and there was nobody at the serving tables because she had first dibs on everything. She was cooking anybody who tried to defend her. Nneka Ogwumike gave you 23 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, and was 10 of 15 from the field. Erica Wheeler gave you 21 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals, and was 8 of 11 from the field. Gabby and Ezzy combined for 24 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, and was 10 of 18 from the field. Skylar Diggins gave you 10 points, 8 assists, and was 4 of 9 from the field. Next up, we have Mystics versus Mercury. There are so many games left. Oh my God. I'm fighting. Next up, we have Mystics versus Mercury. The Mercury beat the Mystics 68-62. Full transparency, I got bored halfway through this game and cut it off. I just watched the quick game, I'll be honest. And there was not much to see here. The Mystics were held to 7 points in the second quarter, but they redeemed themselves in the third quarter and outscored the Mercury by 8. So they cut the lead to 2. They just weren't able to pull it out at the end. Brittany Sykes struggled, and I think that was like the biggest reason for this loss. They also had a lot of turnovers, 29 to the Mercury's 15. Sonia Citron had 14 points, 4 assists, and was 5 of 8 from the field. Kiki Ariafin gave you 11 points, 13 rebounds, and was 3 of 4 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Brittany Sykes gave you 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I think we're typically just used to, her giving you like 20. I think she was like 1 of 10 from the field as well. So, hopefully that's not like something that happens often. It doesn't become like, a common occurrence or anything. But the Mystics, honestly, despite Sykes struggling, the fact they were in this game, very telling. For the Mercury, honestly, based on what I've seen from this team, this was probably like their least efficient game. Monique Akoa Makani gave you 13 points, 3 steals, was 4 of 8 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Satu Sabali gave you 12 points, 9 rebounds, and was 4 of 14 from the field. We've definitely seen like some better numbers from her. So this was just like, I think, an off game. And Alyssa Thomas gave you 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. Next up, we have Sky versus Sparks. The Sparks beat the Sky 91-78. Neither of these teams excite me really. I was really dragging through this game. The Sky, again, I don't really have too many things to say. Like, I have a couple things, but, nothing crazy. The Towers combined for 25 points, 18 rebounds, and 7 assists. Kia Nurse had a better game. She was 4 of 9 from the field, but I think she only had 9 points. And that, I think we just need more from that, more than that from a starting guard. I also think that with the Storm, some of their game just comes down to everyone needing to be better on offense. And by everyone, I really just mean like the guards. So both starting guards only had 9 points. So Ariel and Kia are going to have to lock in. I think Ariel had a 23-point game later on this week against the Wings when they beat them. So she's really stepping up. But, if Kia Nurse can't give you a little bit more, I definitely agree with, starting Beck Allen. I think that would be a really great move. I do think, however, then it's like, who's going to score off the bench? And, that's a separate issue. That's a separate side thing. So we'll see what happens from here. I do think that Haley Van Lith kind of maybe being available to play, I'm wondering if she's going to get more minutes and, maybe she could give you more scoring guard-wise. And, maybe we'll see what that looks like. But Camilla, I think she has to stay out of foul trouble. There were also, and this isn't even like Camilla's fault. To me, this is like everyone on defense's issue. There were like multiple times where Camilla was guarding Kelsey Plum on the perimeter, and it happened like multiple times in the third quarter, like enough for me to notice. And the reason that kept happening was because Ariel Atkins continuously accepted the switch on screens, and because of that, their defense allowed the Sparks to shoot 3 threes back to back. And I think maybe this is something that they've figured out since I've watched them. Obviously, maybe because they've won games. But the defense just needs work. Like, the defensive switches has to be better. The offense has to be a little bit better. But all in all, this is definitely a better game than the ones I watched last week. So I'll take it. For the Sparks, no notes. I still think they kind of look a mess. But the coach said that they haven't practiced, and I'm going to let her have that. I don't usually accept that excuse. However, I'm going to give her 2 weeks. And if they don't look better by then, I'm going to have to call her on her Zoom, as I said before. And that's all I'll say there. Kelsey Plum gave you 28 points, 8 assists, and was 9 of 18 from the field, 6 of 10 from the 3-point line. Azariah Stevens gave you 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 10 of 14 from the field. Odyssey Sims gave you 12 points, 3 assists. And Sarah Ashley Barker, one thing I think from this game, I think she has to, figure out how to stay out of foul trouble because they definitely need her on the floor defensively. So if she can figure that out, and her and Jolie can play together until, Cameron comes back and Ray Burrell comes back and, before Rakia can kind of get worked in there. I hope that they're able to figure that situation out. First of all, we had Valkyrie versus Liberty. The Liberty beat the Valkyrie 95-67. For the Liberty, I think leads are tough for them to keep sometimes because there will be slippage there, This time it didn't matter, obviously, because they beat them 95-67. But there was a little bit of slippage. Brianna Stewart gave you 24 points, was 10 of 14 from the field. Maureen Johannes gave you 18 points, 4 steals, and was 6 of 11 from 3. Natasha Cloud gave you 10 assists. For the Valkyries, they got the game within 11 points at one point. They went on a 15-2 run. Veronica Burton gave you 13 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and was 3 of 11 from the field. Not super efficient, but I really do enjoy watching Veronica Burton play, and I think she's a very good facilitator. So, I enjoy watching her play. Kayla Thornton gave you 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. Janelle Salon gave you 9 points, 6 rebounds, and Timmy Fagbinley gave you 11 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and was 5 of 5 from the field. Very efficient night for her. Next up, we have Wings versus Sun. The Wings beat the Sun 109-87. This was a battle of who was going to get their first win, and the Wings took it. Paige assisted on the first 3 baskets of the game. They also outscored the Sun 33-18 in the second quarter. They beat them in the paint, and I think they just kind of have to work on defending without fouling. But outside of that, this was a really great game. And also, I did like seeing, 2 younger teams kind of be able to play. Not the youngest, obviously. I will say I did enjoy the Mystics versus Sun game last week just because they felt like evenly matched teams. But anyways, to get into the stats, Paige Beckers gave you 21 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and was 8 of 10 from the field. Enrique gave you 19 points, 4 assists, 6 steals. Dejanay gave you 16 points, was 5 of 9 from the field. Maddie Segrist gave you 12 points, was 4 of 9 from the field. And Kayla Charles gave you 10 points, 4 rebounds, and was 4 of 6 from the field. I actually really like that player. I think she's looked good anytime she's been on the floor, so I'm hoping to see her more, as the season progresses. For the Sun, there was a lineup change. They started JC, Sanaya Rivers, Marina Mabry, Olivia Nelson-Adota, and Tina Charles. I really like this lineup. They had the lead after the first quarter. Again, they start games really well. We just have to, keep going with that. Bria Hartley had 3 fouls at the beginning of the second quarter, and that kind of, that foul trouble really kind of got in the way of her game because she was having a really great game before that moment. Again, I have here on my notes, started well, but the middle part is where they started losing the game. Tina Charles gave you 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 9 of 14 from the field. Marina gave you 19 points, 4 rebounds, and was 6 of 12 from the field. And Bria Hartley gave you 12 points and was 4 of 7 from the field. Next up, we have Storm versus Lynx. The Lynx beat the Storm 82-77. This was honestly probably one of my favorite matchups last season, and this season isn't disappointing for this matchup either. These two teams are very evenly matched to me, and this game came down to the wire. Last season, I think in the preseason, it went into double overtime or something, and then even when they played later on in the season, again, these were really fun matchups to me because both teams play really great defense, and they have some offensive pieces there, but I think both teams play well on both ends of the floor, so it's just really fun to watch both of them kind of go at it, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the playoffs this year, and I love to see these two teams matched up in the playoffs as well. However, at the end of this matchup, Minnesota just shot a little bit better from the field and from the free throw line, and that's what won them the game. For the Storm, Gabby Williams gave you 20 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and was 8 of 15 from the field. Skylar Diggins gave you 18 points and was 5 of 11 from the field. Nneka gave you 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and was 5 of 14 from the field. This was kind of very uncharacteristic for her. I think that the Lynx defense does a really great job of, helping and kind of doubling on NECA, and then I think their defense just rotates well also. So even just like kicking to the paint and then passing it back out doesn't really work. But you could definitely see that a lot of people, multiple players, were kind of taking their turn defending NECA, and that was kind of an easy way to kind of shut down them winning the game. Erica Wheeler gave you 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 4 of 6 from the field. For the Lynx, Kayla McBride returned for this game, which I'm very happy about. I think they all play well together, and I think this team is just they're really great when they're missing players, but when they're all playing together is when they're at their best. Courtney Williams had a great game. She gave you 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 10 of 18 from the field. Nafisa Collier gave you 16 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 steals, and 2 blocks, and was 7 of 18 from the field. Alana Smith gave you 16 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 7 of 11 from the field. And Kayla McBride gave you 15 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, and was 4 of 8 from the field. Everybody was extremely efficient, and that's really just the kind of basketball I'm trying to see. Next up, we have Dream versus Sparks. The Dream beat the Sparks 88-82. Rakia Jackson came back this game. I think the real difference between these two teams is that the Dream have multiple players who can score and defend, and the Sparks just don't really have like too many players who can do that. I think Kelsey Plum's defense has definitely improved this season, and I think Dearica plays hard defense. But I think for like other players on the team, it's either like you're getting one, but you're not always 100% getting both. And I think that's kind of like where they're struggling right now. I will say that I think Rakia is a player who plays well on both ends of the floor. I think Ray Burrell plays well on both ends of the floor. So this could just be a thing where it is down to health again, but I guess we'll see. The Sparks really tried to come back this game and win. They went on a 14-0 run. They played good defense and had some good defensive stops in an effort to come back late in the game, but they just weren't able to get it done. I think, maybe had they had some of those defensive plays like a little bit earlier on, maybe we'd be having a different conversation right now. But for the Dream, they were still without Brittany Griner. Alicia Gray gave you 25 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and was 7 of 8 from the field. She's been having a really amazing start to the season. I hope that continues for her. Ryan Howard gave you 15 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Bree Jones gave you 13 points. Naz Hillman gave you 11 points, 7 rebounds, and was 5 of 8 from the field. For the Sparks, Dearica Hamby gave you 28 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, and was 10 of 15 from the field. She played really well, as well as Kelsey Plum, who gave you 27 points, 5 assists, and 4 steals, and was 10 of 20 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. And Azare also gave 10 points, 11 rebounds. I think it really just, again, comes down to, like, who else outside of those three is kind of going to step up and give you some offense. And right now, they have like a depth issue, so there's not really anybody who can do that for you, which is kind of another reason why I'm confused by the Aaron McDonald wave, but I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave that alone for now. On Wednesday, we had one game, Fever versus Mystics. The Mystics beat the Fever 83-77. The Fever didn't have Caitlin Clark. I'm going to be honest, I got bored and watched a quick game, so I'm going to just give you guys the stats. For the Fever, Zawana Bonner gave you 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and was 5 of 10 from the field. Kelsey Mitchell gave you 14 points, 4 assists. Aaliyah Boston gave you 10 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, was 4 of 5 from the field. Natasha Howard gave you 11 points, 6 rebounds, and was 5 of 10 from the field. For the Mystics, Brittany Sykes gave you 21 points and 9 rebounds and was 6 of 17 from the field. Kiki Ariafin gave you 16 points, 8 rebounds, and was 7 of 13 from the field. And Sonia gave you 13 points, 7 rebounds. And Shakira Austin gave you 13 points and 3 rebounds. I really like seeing Shakira out there, though. And also because the first few games where she came back and played, she was in some foul trouble or, had gotten ejected that one time. So, or was it 2 times? Who really remembers? But yeah, I'm excited to see her, back on the floor and, playing hard, playing well. So shout out to Shakira Austin. I know Aaliyah Edwards returned also this week. So congrats to them. And I'm excited to see, what that full team kind of looks like. And it's going to be a very interesting season. On Thursday, we had 2 games. Thank goodness I'm done. Oh my God. I actually was ready to wrap it up. On Thursday, yeah, I didn't watch this game. I'm going to be really honest with you. I was like, I don't really want to watch them lose again. And then when I was doing the research for the stuff, I was like, oh, like they really like played harder this game. I wish I could have watched it compared, but at that point, I was just over it. I've been trying to get this episode out for like 2-3 days now. And yeah, honestly, the episode would have been out to you yesterday. Maybe. Not even yesterday, the day before yesterday. But I went on TikTok live and with another women's basketball creator, and we were talking about basketball on like Monday night. And then I just didn't have the energy. Like, after talking about basketball for like 3-4 hours, it was like, girl, to sit down and record this podcast, it's not happening. And so it didn't. Anyways, Thursday, the first game, Valkyries versus Liberty. I said here on my notes I didn't watch it, but only losing by 5 points to the Liberty. Liberty got to lock in because, again, I think the Valkyries are a good team. Like, they're not trash or anything, so I know that they're going to be scrappy and they're going to definitely make it hard for teams to win games. But the Valkyrie just beat them in the paint. I think they need to work on defending without fouling a bit. They sent Brianna Stewart to the free throw line 19 free throws. So I definitely think that's an area to work on. But Janelle Salon definitely had a much better game. She gave you 18 points, 13 rebounds. Kayla Thornton gave you 10 points, 6 rebounds. And Monique Billings gave you 10 points, 7 rebounds. I also think, a lot of their players who were hurt are kind of getting put into rotation or are starting, and Natalie Nakase is trying some different lineups. So I'm interested to see, what this team looks like 2 weeks from now. Like when she knows exactly what a player can kind of give her. And, I definitely think it's going to be a lot harder to beat this team when they're fully healthy. So I'm excited to see them. And, maybe they'll make it to the playoffs this year. Who knows? For the Liberty, Brianna Stewart gave you 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, was 6 of 12 in the field. Again, 15 of 19 from the free throw line. Sabrina gave you 24 points and 6 rebounds. And I think Jonquel Jones was hurt. Bless me. But Jonquel Jones, I think she was injured, and so she didn't play this game. So, hopefully if she is injured, I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. And, I think maybe that definitely makes a difference for this team because Jonquel usually definitely gives you like double digits and definitely rebounds well and shoots the 3. So this maybe would have been a little bit further out of touch for the Valkyrie. Lastly, we have Wings versus Sky. Full transparency. The Sky won this game, by the way, 97-92. Full transparency, I fell asleep the night I watched this game, and it was just like to the point where I was like, I think it was like Sunday night, and I was like, girl, we don't really have time for you to try to rewind it. Let's just wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up and say that we did. I was going to lie, but I decided to tell the truth today. Anyways, this is the game where Paige got her concussion, and so a downward spiral for the Wings begins. For the Wings, this was Enrique's best game so far this season. She gave it 37 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, was 14 of 25 from the field, 6 of 12 from 3. Great stuff. Dejanay Carrington gave you 15 points, 2 blocks, 6 of 13 from the field. And Paige gave you 15 points, 8 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and was 6 of 11 from the field. That's a pretty great stat line for somebody who was hurt, Pretty great stuff. Enrique had a good game. I think if Dejanay can give you 15 every night, We'll be cooking with grease. Honestly, we'll be cooking with fish grease. Next up for the Sky, Camila Cardozo gave you 23 points, 8 rebounds. She had a really great game. Ariel Atkins stepped up and gave you 17 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and was 9 of 13 from the field. Thank God I'm done. I'm going to be so honest. That was a lot. I wanted to give up halfway through, but I was like, girl, just push through. Anyways, next week's episode will be way more entertaining. I just am super tired. It's like 4:30 a.m. at this point. Let's actually check. Yeah, it's 4:38 a.m. I have work tomorrow, and I have my hour commute, so I'm gonna go. If this episode isn't up on like Wednesday morning, it's because I decided to just go to sleep, but I'll edit it when I come home from work and it'll be to you by Wednesday night. Again, I'm sorry that this is late if you made it this far in the episode. If you have questions or anything, feel free. If you have comments, thoughts, please share them. Also, the second episode, the one for week 3, will be up probably by like, I'll really try to grind. It's Wednesday, so I'll try my best to watch as many games as I can. And hopefully the episode will be to you guys by like Saturday night, Sunday morning. Fingers crossed. Anyways, I'm really gonna try to lock in, but I have new hours for work now, so I'll be able to watch more games like in real time, so I shouldn't be falling behind as heavily as I am now. So prayers up, guys. Love you lots. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.